Welcome to the ultimate trifecta of success with your host, Stephen Pine. Tune into our show where we cover everything related to business, insurance, and fitness. From tips on entrepreneurship to advice on financial planning and health, we've got it all. Whether you're a small business owner, an insurance enthusiast, or a fitness freak, our expert guests and in-depth discussions will provide you with the guidance and inspiration you need. So sit back, relax, and let's get started because the ultimate trifecta of success starts now.
Welcome to the show, the ultimate trifecta of success. Thanks for tuning in. And the ultimate trifecta of success, what does that mean? Well, hopefully you'll understand and know a little bit more about that in the next 30 minutes. And so, hey, I want to introduce you to my guest today, Greg Mccoy. He's a friend of mine, my personal trainer in the fitness world. And but even more so, like I said before, a good friend of mine, business owner, and brought him on today to share a little bit about his story, his success story, business, fitness, the correlation between the two. And so without further ado, let me introduce you to Mr. Greg Mccoy. How you doing today, Greg?
What's up, Stephen? I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing awesome. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. And hey, tell us a little bit real quick, just before we get started, Hidden Gym. Tell us a little bit about Hidden Gym. A little opportunity to brag about your gym before we get into things.
Yeah, Hidden Gym is a results-oriented facility. We have memberships and specialize in one-on-one and two-on-one personal training. So it's a work hard type of gym, no matter what walk of life you're coming from. If you want to lose that 10 pounds that you've been struggling with, or if you're a professional athlete, if you work hard, you have a place here. So it's really cool. We've got just an amazing atmosphere and culture. Top-notch machines, but I say over and over, while I love my facility, and it's certainly in my opinion one of the best in the country as far as it's how it's equipped. It's the people that make the place. So we got people here that are kind-hearted and supportive, and there's a reason that we all get results. It's because it's contagious. So if you want to be a part of an environment like that, let us know.
Absolutely. I can attest to that for sure. I guess I've been going to a Hidden Gym now for about a year and a half. It was last February, so a little over a year is when I first started training at Hidden Gym and with you, Greg. And the equipment there is top notch, always upgrading the equipment when something better comes out or something needs to be improved on. And definitely the people. I've had an opportunity to meet quite a few of the people there. That definitely is what brings most people back. And me for sure. So you've done a great job, and do appreciate you being here today. So you're a 3-time gym owner. You've been training for over 13 years. Obviously the owner of Hidden Gym, got a few locations now, and you're still competitive in the bodybuilding world, right? You're still competing?
Yeah, I've done, at least a show a year since 2006. So
yeah,
my resume is getting longer.
That's awesome.
I took a little break in there. We can maybe touch on that, but yeah, I love it. I love competing, and
awesome.
It gives me something to strive for outside of business. And lucky for me, and not lucky, it's intentional, but that for me benefits my business. So
sure.
My competitive life and my business kind of go hand in hand. So
absolutely,
I love it.
I'm glad you said that. I actually was being interviewed last week, and they asked me about insurance, what makes me successful, where have I found my success? And I basically said the same thing. I love my career in insurance. Absolutely love the fitness world. And I've come to really find a new love in the bodybuilding world, thanks to you, Greg. And I've combined the two. If you combine the things in life that you love doing, whether it's for a career, whether it's your hobbies, whatever it is, you'll have much more.
I lost audio on you. Check.
Can you hear me now, Greg?
There we go. I got you.
Weird. All right. Well, good. Well, we'll maybe finish that thought later. I'm sorry. That was weird, but thank you. Okay, so how long have you had Hidden Gym? How long ago did you open Hidden Gym?
Yeah, so I've been a gym owner and operator since '09, but Hidden Gym has
Okay,
existed since March of 2019. So we're
so
just a little over
2019. Okay,
4 years old.
very good, very good. Okay, so um, I'm taking it you learned a lot of things in the past before you opened Hidden Gym. What are some of those things that um, that you may have wished you would have known then that you know now?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right? Is when you ask somebody
Yeah.
that you're after. And I would say, like many young men. So if they're young men listening, you're guilty of this, whether you know it or not yet. I thought I knew a lot more than I did when I
Mm-hmm.
started. To the point I was definitely overconfident, which it's a double-edged sword. I don't know if I would have gone into business for myself if I wasn't overconfident. So in some
Yeah.
ways, it got me started. But in a lot of ways, I needed a lot more help than I realized. And so you kind of learn as you make mistakes that there's a lot that you need to learn. And so could I talk to 22-year-old Greg opening his first gym? I would have told him to, invest in coaching.
Mm.
I didn't really start to really heavily invest in business coaching until, with Hidden Gym. And that'll happen almost by accident. And now I'm like a coaching fiend. And, I invest a
Yeah.
lot into learning about business and, I have a trainer as well, even as long as I've been doing this. So, I would, say you
Yeah.
don't know as much as you think you know, and talk to people that have been there, done that more. That would be the advice I would give
Absolutely.
younger me.
I think that's great advice. Yeah, I look back. So I've been doing this for 20 years now. The insurance world. Actually, March 1st was my 20-year anniversary here at the agency.
Oh, wow.
Um, and yeah, 20 years. That's crazy, man. It flies by. It goes by so fast. And yeah, I was thinking about that question myself. And it's just, man, at first I had a hard time thinking, well, what would I do differently? Or what's the one thing that I wish I would have known then? But then, I kept thinking, it's like, man, a laundry list of things started popping up. And I do think the number one thing, just to reiterate really what you said, is I wish I would have asked more people for help
Mm-hmm.
instead of thinking I've got this, and if I don't, I'll figure it out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, figuring things out on your own, because you definitely learn that way. But I think I could have learned it quicker if I'd have just had a mentor or a business coach that I would consistently go to. And the guys that were here at the time definitely did that for me, but they're not going to come and just lay into you. You've got to ask. And that was the one thing that I think I struggled with, is just asking when I didn't know. And then being on the 20th year of this, what I would want is people to come ask me, hey, what did you do? What would you do differently? And then I would answer that question with thought-provoking ideas,
Mm-hmm.
so they do learn. I don't think it's necessarily all that great just to give them an immediate answer, because I do think there's a process of learning if you make them go figure it out, but you lead them in the right place to find it. So there's two sides to that. But man, I certainly wish I'd have asked for more advice when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd be further along, but I would certainly think that I would have gotten somewhere I wanted to be quicker.
Sure.
So yeah, but I think that's a great answer. And so over the last 13 years, 14 years or so, Greg. So what's that one? And it's not a magic bullet question. I'm not asking the magic bullet, but what's one thing that you think you will continue doing over the course of your career, no matter what? Whether it's a certain thing you do in a daily routine that gets you moving, or just something business wise that's just absolutely pertinent to make the thing go round. What's that one thing you think you'll continue to do?
Yeah. I would say this might be a frustrating answer to listeners looking for concrete advice, but to be honest, I would continue to treat people right. And I know that's sounds like the ultimate Boy Scout answer, but Boy Scout or not, it's paid absolute dividends for me in the long run. There are opportunities and people that I treated right a decade ago that come back and turn into a fruitful relationship. And
Yeah.
it just it's kind of like compound interest. It's like the longer that your career goes, and now at this point, gym owner of 14 years or something. And even before I was a gym owner, like I was volunteering at bodybuilding shows, I was going to expos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew that's what I wanted to do even when I was in high school. And so I have
Yeah.
probably 20 years of like of a reputation built up, and that you treat people right, and you authentically listen to what they have to say, and you try to help them with what they're doing. And there's so much goodwill that gets built up that it just makes things so much easier as you have big goals, and the more people that you need kind of on your side. And it's not hard for me to reach out to that person that I talk and know other people that have probably a few more burnt bridges than I do. And it makes things hard because you can't always reach out for help when you didn't leave things on a good note. So I was raised that way, to treat people right, and I can see now the tangible benefits of doing that. Like, I'm even more of a believer of it than I was in the beginning, because it really does. One, it's the right thing to do, but two, it does pay off big time.
I agree. Man, that's great advice. I always think, no matter who it is, they deserve to be treated right. I mean, it could be someone, in the insurance industry, we deal with all types of personalities, and there's bad days. There's bad days, but everyone deserves to be treated right, with respect, and it does go a long way. I absolutely agree with that. I was thinking about this question more along the lines for me as I started back in college. I played football in college and ran track, and we had morning workouts and morning runs. And so my days always got started really early. And from those days, which was back in 1999, I developed that morning routine of you get up and you do something productive. And you hear a lot more about it now because people are realizing it. But it's so true. And I've carried that on throughout my entire career. And you know this, Greg, but I get up at 4 every morning. And I have about 40 minutes of Stephen time, drink a cup of coffee, and now I eat a little bit of food, and then I go to the gym. I'm at the gym at 5, and I'm working out. And it just starts my day off unlike any other day. If I sleep in, or I say I'm going to work out later in the day, my day's just different. I'm not, it takes me a little bit longer to get moving, a little bit longer to get motivated. And it's just, I would say, get up in the morning, do something productive. And, we were at, what was it that you invited me to go to at the Garrett? What is his deal called? Mighty Men?
Yeah.
Mighty Men. And that's what he was talking about. He's like, get up in the morning and just do push-ups, do 20 push-ups, do something productive in the morning, make your bed, something that accomplishes something, and your day will be so much better. So,
yeah, there's a wisdom in that. And it reminds me when I do stuff like that, and I'm an early morning guy, but I don't like to work out early mornings. I'm like literally, like, if I could choose it, and I've set my life up that way. Like, I like to work out at like 10:30 is the perfect time for me. But I do think it's similar to the advice, and this is great business advice too, which was the old advice I've always heard, which was to pay yourself first. That's like so hard to do as a business owner, because like usually you get, as an owner, you get paid last, right? Like the money comes in, you pay your rent, you pay your utilities, you pay your staff. Like, okay, there's a few crumbs left for Greg, right? But the coach will tell you pay yourself first for a lot of reasons. And what you're saying about the morning routine and getting your workout in reminds me of like, okay, I'm gonna pay Steven first. Like, Steven's gonna read and do his devotional or whatever it is that you do while you're doing your coffee. You're gonna hit that workout. Okay, Steven's been paid. Now let me go take care of the world, right?
That's right. That's when you go invest in other people. That's exactly right. That's well stated. Absolutely. So let's talk about this a little bit. And this is something that's important to me, and I know it's important to you, but the fitness side of things, and we discussed this a little bit earlier, but before we got on here, but the fitness side of things, the business side of things, I believe there to be a great correlation between the two. I'm interested in your opinion on that. and what that correlation might mean to you. And then I'll definitely give my opinion on it as well. So.
I geek out on this subject so much. So I've done a lot of interviews around this topic, so you might have to hold me back.
No, it's all good. Let loose.
Yeah. One of my favorite like pieces of research is about exercise's effect on the brain. And the top level like neuroscientists and people that study cognitive function would tell you that if exercise had no effect on your body at all, which right, most of us are working out for physical health benefits, but even if it didn't even do that, the effects that it has on your brain and your cognitive function would make it so worth it still. So that's like a groundbreaking statement to say, like, even if it didn't improve your health, what it does for your brain would make it so worth it. So I truly, like, if you're a successful, driven, like achievement oriented person and you're not like exercising regularly or eating in a way that supports like your goal to achieve, like you're leaving so much money on the table. You are not performing at your best by a long shot. I think, and it kind of goes in the face of like what we in our mind, what we think of this, like, big wealthy corporate billionaire, right? Like you think of somebody that's likely overweight and drinking a scotch. At least that's what I think of.
The fat cat, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that's like, that's, been proven that like the person that's successful in those other areas of life is just going to have like such an edge on that guy. You're performing at such a higher level consistently. Like you're not fighting low blood sugar. Your energy is always optimized. Like just think about how much better you work when you're like full of energy and life and you feel confident and good. Versus when you're like tired and like, or you just had a huge lunch or maybe a drink and like, you're maybe fighting at 60%, right? So,
absolutely.
When you're fit and you're eating healthy, you're like at, 90 to 100% most of the day. And that adds up over time. If you have a lot of days in a row where you're at a 90 to 100% capacity, like in 6 months, that's going to be a big difference than the guy that's functioning at 60%, right? So I love the topic, and it's just you got to do it, whether you need it for reasons or not.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree 100%. Something I was thinking about, and it's kind of why I was interested in getting into the bodybuilding world at such a late age. When I started, I was 42 when I actually started doing this and competing. And it was like on the business side of things, I had basically accomplished the goals that I had set out. I obviously continued to set new goals, which is great. But I'm a big believer in consistency. I know you are too. Consistency as opposed to motivation. But I've been consistent in this industry for 20 years and 19 at the time. And I don't know if every man is this way, but there kind of comes a time in their life where it's like, what's now? What's next? What am I supposed to do now? And I find myself kind of in a little bit of just being sluggish, I guess. Still taking care of everything, but just being sluggish, looking for something new, something that helps me find another purpose. And I found bodybuilding, and I've worked out since I was 14. So it's not that the working out thing was new to me by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the discipline on the other side of it that I really found I needed to re-engage in. I needed to tap back into a discipline, a consistency of I have to do these things every day, literally every day, in order to accomplish my goal. And it just revitalized that energy in me, both on the business side, the bodybuilding world, and even more importantly to me in the spiritual realm. I have to do these things every day to continue to grow. There's the whole thing with the spiritual disciplines and things. It's like, you've got to do these things. They're there for a reason. Spiritually, business, your hobbies, the things that you do on the side. If it's golf, you got to do them every day if you want to get better. And it just revitalized that energy inside of me. Like, okay, and now it's transferred over to the business side. I'm doing new things, and that's what it takes. And so, there's definitely a correlation on that side. obviously the way that the brain responds. And then the benefit too, the side benefit is physically, you're going to look better, you're going to feel better, you're going to be happier about yourself. There's just so many things, the intangibles that go with it. And even if it's not working out like you and I do, it can just be a 30-minute circuit type workout that you're doing because you want to be healthy and you want to be able to play with your kids and your grandkids when you get older, keep your bone health, your bone density. It just goes on and on and on. So, I've found that.
Like what you're saying, if there's, and bodybuilding can teach you a lot. And I think any like competitive sport, but especially in bodybuilding, because it like, you don't actually have to like play anybody at the end, right? Like it's not like a football game where there really is no performance that has to happen. You either did your homework or you did not. So every day of that, say, you may get ready for a contest for an entire year and prep for 4 months, and every day, every workout, every meal, every night's sleep is gonna show at the end.
Yes.
And you can tie that, so it's basically like, okay, I have to do XYZ behaviors every single day. Well, if I want my result, I mean, that is business. That's any goal. If you can take that to your office, if it's like, I want to increase sales by $1 million this year. Okay, what do I need to do for the next 12 months, every day, every week, every month? It really teaches you how to reverse engineer a goal down to those all those small behaviors that are going to add up and to determine whether you get it or not.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree 100%. And, it really taught me a lot about the process goals as opposed to the end goal, especially the bodybuilding side. Because the end goal, right, is to get on stage and look decent enough not to get laughed off stage, right? If that's not motivation enough. But it's the things in the interim before you get there, those process goals. We want to be at this point by this time, this point by this time. And if we're not here at this time, we've got to crank it up a little bit. We got to do a little bit more cardio. We got to eat a little bit different. There's just so those process goals along the way. I think as you get more tenured in your career or whatever it may be, at least for me, those process goals kind of became not as important. And so it was a very good eye opener to me and reminded me of those things that are important. And if you want to continue to grow, if you want to continue to be successful, be more successful, you have to do those things, no matter what it is. And by success, I mean, I define that by having joy in what you do, helping other people. It's not necessarily money related. It's just helping people. And but those things are super important. So that's a great topic and one we could talk on forever, I know.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, absolutely. But let's move on a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about challenges. We've got a few minutes left, got about 6-7 minutes left. Some challenges that you faced in your profession and maybe some challenges you see in the future. I know you obviously project out in the future as you're expanding. You've expanded and you have multiple locations now. So I know you're looking to the future. So what are some challenges you've maybe faced and then some things in the future that you think might be challenges, or I like to call them actually opportunities? So
Yeah, when you're going through them, it's a challenge. And then when you're on the other side of them, you're like, well, thank goodness I learned that when I did or whatever. I have had lots of, any business owners going to go through a lot of adversity. But if I could say in, 15 years, the hardest thing I've ever been through was a partnership gone wrong. There was lots of lessons learned from that, both, things that I need to watch out for, how to be prepared when you're entering into business relationships, how to take care of yourself, the value of representation of yourself, not for the company as a whole. Learning, not to be naive and, not to be afraid to offend people by taking care of your interests, how not to get taken advantage of, what I don't want to be like, which is sometimes even more important than what you do want to be like. I've studied a ton on, there's always lots of stuff about, visualization and you want to like act like the people that you want to be. But at the same time, I think some of the more valuable lessons I learned through those kind of mistake years would be like, okay, I learned a lot about the person I don't want to be. And that's helped me define who I do want to be. So getting through, like going through that whole thing, and not to, to keep it kind of a short, vague story, but, I ended up exiting from a business that had taken me 10 years to build. And I left with, not much to show for it. It was super hard. However, say 5 years later, I'm so thankful I learned that lesson at 30 and not 50. I'm so thankful that I had, an opportunity to recover from that and put those lessons to work. So, I do think while it was the hardest thing I had ever been through at the time and still is to this day, I do think that was like a God's plan. Like, look, you got to learn this the hard way now, because if you don't, like, you might do it when the stakes are a lot higher. So I am thankful, I'm still mad about it, and I still have my days where just think about it, but it's a lot fewer and far between. And I can at least at this point say I'm grateful that I had that adversity that made me who I am today. So yeah, there's a long-winded answer to challenges.
No, I hear you. Yeah. I have not necessarily faced that, which I'm thankful for. It's, the other partners here are fantastic, and we've been together and added a couple additional ones since I joined in 2003. And I have not had that experience, thank goodness. But, I've definitely had some challenges for sure. And I'm someone I used to be more this way than I am now, but I do still possess this trait. But I'm a very trusting person, and I'm quick to open up to friends or to people, and I'm quick to trust you. I'm quick to have faith in you until you burn me, which is not necessarily a bad trait until you get burned and someone takes advantage of you. And so I've had to do things here that I've learned hard lessons from. And, I've had to write personal checks because there's times where, and not to get into details, but, you bind insurance coverage for someone expecting them to pay and they don't pay. So we're on the hook for a certain amount of that premium, and somebody's got to pay. And so I have to write personal checks. Sometimes I didn't have the money to do it. But I trusted the person would pay, and they don't. And so that's a small thing in the grand scheme of things, but it can be very, very costly also. And it's an amazing lesson. Trusting someone doesn't necessarily mean you have to front money. So it's, and that goes, you can take that wherever you want to, but there's a lesson there for sure. It's good to trust people. It's good to let people in, but you also have to be smart about it. And take care of yourself. And like you said, you'd have to pay yourself first. You just have to. And, Jerry Jones said a long time ago, there's 3 things that he learned in business. And whatever you think or feel about Jerry Jones, it is what it is. I'm not a huge fan, but he's very successful. And the top 3 things he said is get the money first. Number 2, get the money first. And number 3, get the money first. Okay. And he's right. He is exactly right. And so I learned that lesson a long time ago, but and it's carried over into multiple different facets of this industry. So, well, we got about a minute left, and I want to know a little bit more about your bodybuilding career coming up. What you got planned? How much longer are you going to do it? Do you still love it? Do you still love the process? Tell me about that before we have to get off.
Yeah, sure. No, I absolutely still love it. I look forward to my workouts every day. I enjoy weighing out my food, as weird as that may sound to people. And I think in general, I love that I have like a goal to work towards. I have a purpose. There's a reason I want to get to the gym. There's a reason I want to lift more than I did the week before. So that's always driving me. So I intend to compete in the fall this year. I haven't exactly picked a show. Nice. My coach and I are working on that. How much longer? Nice. I don't know. I've always told myself when I stop getting better, that's probably when I'll be done. and I've continued to improve it. I'm 36. I've been doing this since I was 19, and I have been better each year. So when that starts to go the other direction, then I'll probably be having less fun with it.
I like it. I think that's great. And, I think just to kind of sum things up, you obviously had an opportunity to quit doing what you're doing, go into a different industry, do something different. When partnerships go south, you have that opportunity, but you didn't do that. Mm-hmm. You kept your head up and your nose down, and you hit the grind, and you rebuilt, and here you are. And so that would be my words of wisdom to the listeners out there. You're going to go through challenges. You're going to have hard times. And sometimes it means there's a breakup and you got to start all over or do something else. But oftentimes, if you keep your head down, you keep moving, it turns out to be something much better than you ever thought it could be. And you're definitely a picture of that. And so, any final words for our listeners, Greg?
No, I don't think so. I think that's great advice to
Awesome.
end on. Thank you guys for listening, and I think you saw our notes at the bottom where you can find us. So hopefully, pop into Hidden Gym one day and say hello. And if you're there, you might see Steven.
Yeah, I'll be there in the morning. Y'all go visit him in Allen. Go visit him in Richardson. He's got those 2 locations that are open for the public. So definitely give him a visit. I'll be the first one to write a testimony for Greg and his places. They're all great. You won't be disappointed. So thank you, listeners. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate your time. And y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in and watching our show. If you would like to see our next show, or more shows like this one, just click the QR code and go to show schedules, or just follow and subscribe to our channels to get updates and notifications of this show, and many others like it.